Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and today we have a virus investigations out of nowhere. This video is one that I kind of had to fast track because my mind's been absorbed by it for the last 6 hours. Now ladies and gentlemen, yesterday I made a video regarding Martin Shkreli, and one regarding the Martin Shkreli Inu coin, and how unfortunately it lost 95% of its value. Now Martin Shkreli got in touch with me, and that video was deleted because frankly I wanted to make some updates to it, but also there were some threats of litigation. Alright, now of course, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how things are going to go on that front, honestly, but at the end of the day, I wanted to make a video update because I'm one that chases the truth, and Martin Shkreli got in touch with me, and nowhere in that video did I ever really talk about the whole idea of, hey, was this 100% a scam? I don't believe things are 100% scam unless there's 100% definitive proof. There might be weird interactions between Bitcoin wallet addresses, and, of course, I'm not going to question that somebody ever did get hacked, because frankly, in today's day and age, anybody can get hacked, ladies and gentlemen, but of course, you can be somebody that's completely unintelligible when it comes to computers, or you'd be somebody like me that's always paranoid and you could still get hacked. Now, of course, the weird comment sections yesterday were all about defending the actions, and again, I'm not going into the idea of the whole pharmaceutical industry and Martin's role in it. If you ask me, I think every CEO in that business is scummy to begin with. But moving on, we have to mention big tits, round asses. And you might be like, whoa, Muda, that's a wild segue right there. And it's a wild segue because when Martin got in touch with me, Martin was kind enough to share me the files that got him hacked. Now, Martin claimed that he had a remote access Trojan that basically ran on his system through a torrent file that he was downloading. Now, Martin was downloading a file which contained, those 4 words that we just said, right? Martin was downloading some videos of the adult variety. Now, of course, in this case, it comes to understand that Martin actually did legitimately get hacked. Now, I sat down and I did some real honest-to-God virus investigations, and I found out exactly how Martin got infected. Now, Martin downloaded this torrent file, alright, this one file on the internet. He sent me a few images of his computer screen, completely disconnected, by the way, because remember, once you get hacked, you don't want to connect to the internet once again. That computer is infected. Who knows what it could send out? Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, Martin Shkreli told me that somewhere around 200 Ethereum was basically siphoned away after this hack, which if you use the $2,000 market average per Ethereum, that's around $400,000 that is just gone. So let's go over the chain of events that led to it. Now, when Martin sent me this file, it came out to a 700 megabyte screensaver file. Now, of course, Martin downloaded this torrent file from this website. He gave me the link. I copied the link, put it into an actual virtual machine. To explain the method to the madness, I made a Windows 10 virtual machine. I know that Martin Shkreli uses Windows 11, and the difference between 10 and 11 is very minimal. So again, I chose 10 because I had the ISO file on hand. So of course, I created a Windows 10 virtual machine, and I used the link and I put it into Microsoft Edge, which let me download a torrent file. The same torrent file that Martin Shkreli apparently had used. Now, I downloaded the malware from this torrent file, and then I also got the torrent file that Martin Shkreli sent me. I then compared the MD5 hashes of both these files to make sure that they were the exact same file. MD5 checksums will outright tell you if the file is the exact same. If the file has not been tampered or modified, the MD5 checksum should not change. So of course, the MD5 checksums matched, and at this point I realized that I was playing with this malware sample. Now, Big Tits Round Asses came out to not be an MP4 file, not an exe file, it turned out to be a .scr file. A .scr file is a screenshot file, a screensaver file for Windows. You know you have screensavers? Well, you can install third-party ones using these SCR files. However, this one was malicious in nature. There were no big tits and there were no round asses. There were only Redline rat malware that was flooding into your system. So again, when I ran this tool, I got a little tiny prompt that showed up for half a second. Usually when you see that, you know you're effectively screwed. If you run that on your system, you better start you better start clearing out your drive, disconnecting your system, and freshening up your operating system. Because at that point, you are completely infected. Now, of course, when I ran this tool, the first thing that I did was I made sure to check my CPU usage. And of course, the system sparked up. I could hear the fan spurring up on my system because there was definitely some activity going on. I went to the app data directory and found out that, lo and behold, there was a new folder that magically popped up. Yandex. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Yandex is a Russian cloud service, which by itself isn't nefarious, but it leads credence to believe that the people that had hacked me, and Martin Shkreli in this case, were Russian in origin. Of course, then further checking the app data directory for the temporary folders, I found out that it created IXP001 folders. So these IXP folders had folders that are files that were known as mantenga.exe, quella.mp3, and a DLL file known as swsoynmh.dll. Now you might be like, but Muda, what happens after that? Now at this point, since we know that we're basically infected, it's time to see just how the infection played out. So I decided to invoke something known as sandboxes, investigation sandboxes. Now, investigation sandboxes are like virtual machines, but they'll allow me to actually see what this program will do. See, it's not exciting in a virus investigations if something just pops up and it just disappears. I mean, how are you supposed to analyze it? Well, by using a per tick analysis, I was able to see exactly what was going on after I had ran this tool, and the actual investigations we found were pretty damning. Now, instead of those rump bottoms, we ended up finding out that we had launched this tool, and basically after this, it started to dig into something known as WRFault. Now, if you don't remember WRFault, this is Windows error reporting, and this is actually taking advantage of a new form of fileless malware spread that is kind of something that was discovered, I think, this year, maybe not late last year. And of course, after it did this, it started to call upon that quella.mp3, it started to ping, and it started to reach out of the network. Eventually, it started to launch more command shells, and then it started to actually call upon like services to check for antiviruses, and lo and behold, once it reached martenga.exe, what was effectively happening was it started to reach out to a command and control server. The command and control server, IP-wise, led back to Europe, and really the IP was data centered into a Russian server anyways, and once you see something like this, you know that it's part of a virtual private cloud or virtual service, and at that point, you're not able to go beyond anything else, and the people that were effectively responsible for it had that proxy to get away from it. So of course, that was the command and control service, but what was really interesting was the actual malware that was dropped. In this case, it was Redline malware. But before we go into Redline malware, as we launched this tool, it was even checking for Bitcoin addresses to begin with. Now, going back to Redline that we just mentioned earlier, Redline is a tool that once you actually have seen it, it's a malware for hire service, which means that you can go onto like hacker forums, you can go onto like the dark web, and you can purchase this for literally like $100 to $200 a month, if anything. So once you buy this, at first, Redline was used to harvest things like your credentials that you would save, autocomplete information, and even credit card stuff that you would save onto your system. But now Redline can look into your cryptocurrencies, your messaging clients, your FTP servers, a whole host of nasty things. Once this thing launches on your system, you're effectively giving up control to somebody on the other side of the world who can dig up anything they want out of your system within due reason. So of course, when I started to look further into this entire piece of malware, I found that Redline was basically spread across a lot of tools regarding anything gaming in general. So things like Roblox, for instance, they had a bunch of tools like their hacking tools. I saw a Fortnite aimbot somewhere with the same hacking nonsense applied to it. Now, in the pursuit of journalistic integrity, I went to find out if this malware link that Martin Shkreli sent me was actually real, right? So, of course, I went to the actual, service. So I went to the actual web service, which I'm not going to be naming for, obvious reasons. And this web service, I found the exact file that Martin claims to have downloaded. I asked Martin this, and he claimed that it seems like the same link that he hit up. Now, this file was uploaded to their service like 3 days ago, okay, like the 10th of August. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at this point in our investigation, it really does seem that what appears to be is Martin Shkreli was unknowingly caught in the middle of an actual hacking group that basically creates hundreds of these files, spreads them around as torrents on various websites, waiting for people to download them. And as soon as they download them and launch SCR files without checking the extension once, they'll basically lose anything that they had. So these people who paid like $100 a month for this fucking malware have now made $400,000 off stolen Ethereum, it seems, according to Martin's words. Just basically, it might actually be the most return on investment I've seen on any fucking hack. So ladies and gentlemen, of course, I wanted to really look into the situation. I wanted to follow it up. And while I'm not a fan of Martin Shkreli, I'm not a fan of people getting hacked like this in any capacity. It's absolutely sad, and the people that lose it are the investors that put money into the tokens that Martin Shkreli has put out. So of course, to understand, I may not be a big fan of this guy, but I don't like seeing anybody get hacked, period. And of course, I wanted to look into the file that he sent me to really uncover this hack for what it was. What Martin had unfortunately got into was because he got a little horny one night, he unfortunately launched malware that cost him and his companies, the people that he was working with on these crypto projects, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, of course, this all can be very preventable. Look, Martin, that's a pretty dumb fucking mistake right there. And my God, your horniness cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. So of course, the general advice anybody can give you on this case is, first off, it's 2022. Let's stop downloading pornography, okay? Let's just watch it on the internet like normal, sane adults. Second of all, when downloading anything off of the internet and you're running it on your host computer, make sure you can at least verify that the extension isn't malicious in nature. These will not be screensaver files, they'll probably be MP4 files, MOV files if you're a discerning adult viewer that absolutely needs Blu-ray quality for this shit. Of course, moving on beyond that, ladies and gentlemen, when launching any of these tools, again, do not launch them on your host system. You know why I use virtual machines all the time? It's because literally if I launched this in a virtual machine like I have for this video, it has not done anything to my host system at all. My host system and all of my important files, financials, YouTube, whatever related, are completely safe. Of course, you know, people who are running this on their host system with no antiviruses, no common sense at all in this case, have ended up costing themselves hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you know what? Yesterday's video evolved into an investigation that basically proved that horniness can cost a lot of money. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's been a bit of a conspiracy theory of, has Martin paid a third party to potentially hack him and make this look legit? Now, the reality of it is, for one, I don't believe that Martin is genuinely intelligent in any of this computer stuff, more so than just basic, stuff that you would find on the internet, right? I don't think this guy is an OPSEC genius. I asked him straight up, and he said no, but he said it would be a wild psyop if he did. I don't know if you should be saying that at all, brother, but moving on. One of the things is, if this is some weird, elaborate psyop, I will say that it would be really dumb to do this when there is current police attention on you, but that's just me personally saying it. I guess I'm playing devil's advocate, or I guess I'm looking at it as if I was in that person's shoes. I also don't think somebody is going to run a remote access Trojan, regardless if it's a third party. Remote access Trojans can spread through a network and infect more than... It's basically like opening Pandora's box on crack. So even if he ran this on his current system, I would very much advise Martin or any of his partners who potentially launched a file like this to disconnect their systems and start checking their other systems on their network as well. The hackers behind these kind of things are very, very talented individuals that will take advantage of any weakness you may have on your network or your system or permission systems in general. Quite literally. So ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to make this follow-up to sort of, amend anything I may have said wrong in my previous video, even though, personally, I'm moving on from any of that. But thankfully, Martin Shkreli, for as many reasons that I don't like this guy given his past history, has at least provided me and you a little bit of virus investigations. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we've discovered what horniness can cost. And it can cost a fair bit. Hopefully the people who had their money stolen, because at the end of the day, financial crimes are not victimless crimes, especially in the worlds of crypto. The money was stolen from Martin Shkreli and Martin Shkreli's wallets. But that money, especially in liquidity pools, at the end of the day, has some stake for the people that have put their money, like the average Andy that has put hundreds of dollars into projects like this, have ended up seeing their money lost. So hopefully, in Martin's words, he's claimed that a lot of these liquidity pools are slowly being fixed up, whether it be through to venture capitalist money or whatnot. But at the end of the day, these are not victimless crimes. These hackers ended up costing people hundreds of thousands of dollars. So ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.